Right then, a big question which I've been wanting to know for a very bloody long time is, will Errol Spence Jr. come back to boxing, or is he done forever? And if Errol Spence Jr. does come back, will he even be the same guy? Um, there's lots of questions to be asked, in my opinion. I mean, look, first of all, he hasn't fought for coming up to 2 years now, ever since that loss to Terence Crawford. I mean, bloody hell, almost 2 years already since that fight. Time bloody flies. But we haven't really heard much about Errol Spence Jr. coming back, apart from rumors with his name in there with Sebastian Fundora, but obviously that didn't end up happening. Fundora was there fighting Booker instead. And yeah, does Errol Spence even want this anymore? I don't know. I mean, we know he's had a few issues with drinking and all that. He's had some alcohol addictions, and yeah, he's been pretty vocal about that on Twitter and all. Putting out his shape, saying, "Oh, if I was still drinking, then I'd be about 200 pounds right now. But right now, I'm 175 pounds." That's what Errol Spence have been saying. He put this out there in February 2028. So let's have a look at this right now. I mean, if we're being real, I mean, he knows this as well, but this isn't a guy who's, in shape to actually fight, if we're being completely honest. Like, it's not a guy you look at as like, he's going to be ready for a fight anytime soon. Like, you just don't get that impression off of Errol Spence Jr., unfortunately. And I like Errol Spence Jr. I actually predicted him to beat Crawford because I'm a dumbass. But obviously that didn't happen. He got absolutely battered around by Terence Crawford. I mean, people might say that the car crashes that Errol Spence Jr. has been in might have, caused him big damage in his career overall, and have probably had a big effect on him physically and possibly mentally as well, because mentally he might not have wanted to take even more damage. And that is why, he's not opening up as much overall. And, he's just been more hesitant at times in his fights. And it was clear in the UGAS fight, and it was clear against Terence Crawford as well. But physically, I think a lot's been taken out of him. And does he even want to come back knowing that, he's almost been out for 2 years now? Things might not go well for him if he is going to come back anyway. If Errol Spence Jr. comes back, he could get absolutely destroyed and dismantled. I mean, if he does come back, I'd want to see him in there with someone like Keith Thurman. But even at this point, even though Keith Thurman's been so inactive, I think he'd beat Errol Spence Jr. at this point in his career. I think Errol Spence Jr. has just gone so low right now. And, physically, he's not helping himself out by, being on the alcohol and all that, getting drunk a lot. That wouldn't have been helping him. And I don't know what his situation is right now overall, but we're not hearing any positive signs about Errol Spence Jr. coming back to boxing and having another fight. And if he does come back, I can't see him being the same anyway. And I can't see him becoming a world champion ever again, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know if Errol Spence Jr. has the motivation right now. As much as I would want to see him back, that would be bloody fantastic. I don't know if we will. And I'm also thinking as well, it might even be best for Errol Spence Jr. for his own sake to, announce retirement properly. Because, with everything he has been through, will it even be recommended, and would it be safe for him to actually return to the boxing ring? That is what I'm thinking. There's a lot of things I'm thinking about his whole situation right now, if I'm being completely honest. But right now, he just doesn't seem like a man who's even, motivated to return to the ring. I just feel like there's just so much going on with him right now. It's going to be difficult for us to see Errol Spence Jr. return to boxing, if I'm being completely honest. And it's sad to say. I just don't know what other opponent is actually going to fully motivate Errol Spence Jr. as well. I just don't know. It's difficult. I mean, I think I did say back last summer I wanted to see him in there like Madrimov or something. I don't really see that now. Because I don't know. What would his weight even be like when he comes back as well? I mean, that's a big question. I reckon, right now he's walking around at 174. I mean, 175. He probably would want to fight at 154 pounds or something like that. And Obviously there was a rematch clause for him to fight Crawford, but I feel like that ship sailed completely. And no matter what, we're not getting that rematch back on, even if Errol Spence does come back and win a fight, for example. I just can't see that happening. I mean, would Errol Spence Jr. want to entertain a fight with like Virgil Ortiz Jr.? I see that fight being very, very, very dangerous for Errol Spence Jr. right now. Do I think he'd come back and want to fight background Maruta Zaliev? I think that would end really, really, really badly for Errol Spence Jr. I mean, for his own sake, I just feel like I just want to see him get on fully on that right path. But I don't know how long that's going to take. And I feel like in ways, though, with everything that's been going on, he has kind of thrown his career away a bit. I mean, he's 35 years old now, and especially when you're in these lower weight classes, age gets to you more. The heavier you are, the less age gets to you. But when you're in these lower weight classes, your speed starts to go, your agility starts to go, your overall boxing IQ starts to go, and you're just not as fluid as normal. And I think that's been clear to see from Errol Spence Jr. in his last 2-3 fights now. He hasn't seemed as quick. He hasn't seemed as fluid. That is the thing. And if he comes back after a 2-year layoff, imagine how it's going to end up looking then. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if Errol Spence Jr. is constantly in the gym right now, though. I mean, clearly, from what we're hearing about, he's most likely not. I mean, this is not a video hating on Errol Spence Jr. whatsoever. I like Errol Spence Jr. I haven't said anything to criticize him whatsoever. I just don't want people to think that's where I'm coming from in this video, because I'm not at all. I want him to return, but it probably is best he doesn't if you think about it. He is 35 years old. He's not looking as good as he once was, and that Terence Crawford fight has bloody beaten him up badly. I mean, and then we go on, we see the everything coming on with those car crashes that Errol Spence has been in, and it's like, how much of a massive toll is this taken on him physically? How much has it taken out of his body overall? How much has it taken out of him mentally? I mean, it's all going to have had a big effect on him. It obviously would have, if we're being completely honest here. It 100% would have taken a lot out of him. And at 35 years old now, coming off one of the most brutal beatings that we've seen in a fight in, a very long time. It was a brutal, proper one-sided fight, a brutal beating over like 8.5 rounds. Obviously, he was finished in the 9th. So it was a proper brutal beating by Terence Crawford onto him. And, Crawford's a ridiculously hard puncher as well. I mean, weight as well. I mean, Errol Spence Jr. is very clearly struggling at 147 for a bit of time now, if we're being completely honest as well. I think it was clear to see he was tight and he was struggling at the weight. I mean, you never know. If we see Errol Spence Jr. come back and fight at 154, hey, it could be a different man. That's what happens if he does come back. It must be at 154. He can't return at 147. It's just not going to work for him. And I think most people know that now. But let's wait and see what happens with the whole Errol Spence Jr. situation. I want him to come back in a way, but in a way, it probably is best that he does retire for good. Anyway, thanks for watching.